here, and today we're doing a little bonus video because this month is the new PreCure season month. We're getting you an idol PreCure this month. I thought I would do a little final thoughts / review of wonderful PreCure because I feel like a lot of people are now starting to become more interested in PreCure, and I want to kind of do these, not necessarily for every single season, but just for certain seasons and provide some amount of recommendations of who I think these seasons are good for. Does that make sense? I did take notes that I'm going to reference in my video, or else I will just be rambling for hours straight, and then future Gabby will have to edit those rambling hours into a concise video, and we're not about to do that. So I'm going to be looking at my notes, and before I get into the video, these are my opinions. My opinions. Now, what I think about wonderful PreCure might not be what you think about wonderful PreCure. You might love it, I might hate it. I might hate it, you might love it. Everyone is going to have different opinions on each PreCure season. And we're just gonna get into it. But if you don't wanna hear my opinions, but before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe because I post new videos every single week. And this is gonna be a bonus video. So I'm trying to do more of these where some weeks you get 2 videos. So let's just get into it. I don't necessarily have a format in mind of how I plan to do this video / other videos like this, but I kind of broke up wonderful PreCure as a whole into categories. We're gonna talk about the characters, the story, the merch, and then my overall opinions, okay? This hopefully will make sense. Hopefully I edit this in a way that it makes sense. Overall, I think I would give wonderful PreCure a 4 out of 5. Yeah, I feel like having wonderful right after Hirogaru, which for me, and I feel like many other PreCure fans, was such a good season. To me, Hirogaru is a 5 out of 5 season. I loved it so much. There was very few things of Hirogaru that I would really change. Whereas Wonderful to me had a few little bits that couldn't necessarily make it a 5 out of 5, but honestly, if Wonderful came after a worse season, maybe I would rank Wonderful higher, but also this, again, my opinions, we're just gonna get into it. All right, let's start with characters. I really liked our cast of characters for Wonderful PreCure. I really did. I definitely initially knew I was gonna be more on the team cat, if you will, personality wise. But I did really love Komugi and Iroha's relationship. They're just so very sweet and endearing to me. Their dynamic and how comedic as a team they were. I really felt like each of their personalities really bounced off each other well, and they honestly felt like an organic group of friends. I feel like every friend group has one of those kinds of characters, if you will. Now, I feel like this is the most controversial thing that I probably will say, and I'm open to having discussions regarding this in the comments, and I've even discussed this with some of my friends. I personally like my leader PreCure to really be the leader of the story. Not necessarily the leader of the story, but feel more leader-esque. And I understand that Komugi is a dog, but having her, she never felt like the lead cure to me. I was always waiting for the moment, and I really thought the finale, the final battle, would give me that moment where I was like, oh, Komugi has come into herself. She is the leader. And I think she provided really interesting insight in the final battle, but it didn't, to me personally, Iroha felt like the lead cure of Wonderful PreCure. I feel like the majority of the story revolves around her journey from having her dog turn into a human to her becoming a PreCure and making friends and dealing with the challenges of being a PreCure and her whole plot with Satoru. To me, more of the story revolved around Iroha, and I feel like that's more traditionally the way the lead cure kind of is involved in the story. I do love Komugi. I love her so much. Honestly, I miss seeing her on my TV already. I genuinely love her, and she brought so much joy, and she's such a fun leader. I don't know if it's just because we're just not used to that type of lead cure, which is why I don't see her as a lead cure. But honestly, I kind of hope that in the future we kind of get different types of leaders, if that makes sense. Because I feel like we see like a very traditional type leader in each season, but I'm open to them changing that up a bit. I found myself more so connecting with like Iroha's emotions and her whole story rather than like Komugi as the leader. Now, to talk about something way positive, because I have to talk about it. I love Satoru and Daifuku so much. Sorry. They genuinely brought so much happiness to me. I could see them do anything. Anytime Daifuku was on the screen, having a little emotion in his little bunny face was always like just like the sweetest moments. I love Satoru as a healthy, normal guy. He has a healthy, appropriate relationship with another character in PreCure. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? I loved that he was kind of like the brains of the team, and even though he wasn't necessarily part of the team, he really did prioritize the team and always wanted to be there for them. And I really love that about him as kind of our support character. Again, yes, he does become a PreCure and but like, he's not seen as a main member of the team. I love Daifuku. I really can't stop talking about it. I just love that little bunny so much. I miss him. I need a plush of him. I need merch of that bunny. I love him. Also, the fact that when he speaks, he sounds like that. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you haven't finished Wonderful PreCure, I'm so sorry. I think you should watch it before watching this video. The bunny's voice is so funny to me, and he just had so much sass, and I loved his character so much. I loved both of them so very much. I still haven't seen the Wonderful PreCure movie because I don't think it's out yet internationally, but I do want to watch it because I'm interested to see how their dynamic kind of affects the team. Then on to Mayu, Cure Lillian, and Nyami, Cure Nyami, Yuki. I love these two so much. I loved Mayu as like such an interesting, like, she never, like, I feel like a lot of times like the shy characters, you know, do eventually like become more open and become more sociable. But I feel like in the nicest way, like Mayu always had that energy to be that more social person, and through her friendship with Iroha becomes more involved in her class and is able to rekindle friendships that she had previously. But we always saw her have that energy of loving her friends and putting her friends first. Like, she never shied away from that, and I really loved that about Mayu. I loved how involved she got in her best friend's relationship because she just was so happy for them and just was such a sweet character. I love our green Cure. I know she's not really green, but like, you know, it's PreCure. Then Yuki. For many unbiased and obvious reasons, because I'm going to be cosplaying her, I do really love Yuki. I loved her whole arc of becoming a PreCure and having to kind of change her mindset on the whole thing, because she went from a protecting Mayu perspective to like a becoming a team and finding friends and not having to necessarily be by herself, which again is kind of seen as like cat-like behaviors. But we see her really open up to her team, and it's very sweet. I will say, I do kind of wish that we had a little more, like, this might be selfish, but I do kind of wish we had a little bit more of Mayu and Yuki, because I feel like their emotional connection definitely is looked into when you find out Yuki's backstory and how Mayu got Yuki. But I felt like towards the end, when it came to their like character development, like I feel like Iroha really had the most character development in the whole show. And I do feel like Mayu kind of follows behind her. But I feel like Yuki and Komugi kind of suffered in not having as much development as the human characters. I don't know. I just wanted more for them, because I feel like especially when it comes to like towards the final battle, we have like each of the characters will kind of have their like big episode. And I feel like Yuki's didn't really like, I wanted them to push it more. I think they could have done more with Yuki and Komugi character-wise. Again, I know they're a dog and a cat, and you're probably like, Gabby, how much personality do you expect them to have? I wanted more. Design-wise, I do really like the team's designs overall. I hated their power-up forms. I hated them. I hated the little egg hat, but other than that, I thought they were cute. But like that egg hat really bothered me. The Cure's designs though are definitely some of my favorites. They felt very unique. I loved that they did all kind of connect to their personalities. I do wish that Cure Lillian was slightly more green. Honestly, I feel like Cure Nyami should have been a white Cure. That's a whole other, one day I'll make a video talking about PreCures and their assigned colors, because I feel like that's a whole mess half the time. Let's get into the story portion. So overall, I really liked the story. I liked that it was a lighthearted when it came to a season about animals. Honestly, I remember in the beginning, people were like, oh, they're not fighting the animals. In the nicest way, I don't watch PreCure for the fighting animation. I watch PreCure for the stories and the characters. I don't necessarily look at like that anime or like the series as a whole and go, oh, I loved that fight scene. Like obviously when there's well animated fight scenes, they're really good. But I don't necessarily go to PreCure wanting to see fight scenes. So I liked that it wasn't necessarily them like beating up animals and instead like using information about animals to then like trap them. I feel like I can't talk about like the overall story without mentioning the episode about pet loss, where it was the grandmother, or like, you know, like the three grandmas that would go to the makeup store, and how one of them, they were all there for her dog passing away. That episode was so well done. Like I think that episode, especially for children, is going to be so important. And even like as an adult, like watching that, like it really did capture that whole emotion around pet loss. And I just think overall, like you could tell that episode was done by like different animators and like a different team, and it was just so well done. I can't talk about that episode enough. It literally, it made me like, I was like so close to crying when I watched that episode. It was so well done. And like, that's what I mean by like those heartfelt moments where like they were really intense, were so well done. Or like the episode where like they found like Komugi's like original like owner, and like going through that whole like range of emotions for Iroha, like maybe losing her friend. Like those episodes were so well done. I also really did love Iroha and Satoru's like relationship storyline. Of like PreCure couples, they're my favorite. I think their story felt so genuine, and it didn't feel forced into the storyline at all either. Like it really did feel like two friends that were falling in love, and it was just very wholesome and sweet. And I loved everything about it. Something story-wise though that I didn't like, and I don't know if this was just a me problem, I'm curious what y'all who have also seen the show think. I constantly felt like the way they were like, the way that Nico was acting and the way that like Yuki especially reacted to Nico made me think that Nico's story like had other elements to it. Like I always felt like there was going to be a moment where like we would find something out about Nico-sama where like I would be like, oh my god, she really did that. Like there just was this constant feeling of like there's something that we're not being told, or like there's a part of the story that was cut. I don't know. Because Yuki never was that distrusting really of anyone else as she was Nico. Also, the fact that she could turn into a giant unicorn and didn't do that until like the last episode, there were multiple moments that could have been useful for the team. I'm just saying, like, I just never trusted her. I always felt like there was something else that we never got about her. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I always expected like a little bit more of her story to be involved in like the whole like villain wolf plot, which I will say, as much as I loved like the whole season of Wonderful PreCure, I found like the ending final boss chunk of the story to be the weakest part of the story. it just kind of felt a little, like it made sense, but it just felt like it wasn't rushed. It just felt like overcomplicated. Like when you find out that Gao isn't actually Gao, but the human that was friends with him that is taking revenge because his friend was killed, and I didn't necessarily love it. Like in all honesty, I really wish it was actually like Gao, like the wolf, and not like the human wearing a fursuit because his friend was killed. Like it was just weird to me. I didn't love it. I did love our other two villains. See, I feel like it was one of the best examples of like the villains not really being evil and them getting a happy ending as well. I did like that. But again, I felt that the kind of like big bad plot at the end was a little weird. It just kind of felt weak when compared to like other like final villain boss battle moments. I did like how Komugi was able to kind of bring like the real Gao's like emotions into like the human like mind, and like help to like create that bridge because she is a dog and understands how the wolf felt. I liked that part of the whole like final villain thing. It just felt really not well put together in my mind. On to toys slash merch slash the figures. I feel so bad saying that their like toys were disappointing, but I remember so vividly when the Friendly Tact was released and people were getting it, and the buttons that in the show are buttons are not buttons. It's literally like a sticker. Once I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, it just felt so lazy. And then what I'm confused by still overall is how the Wonderful Pact was like an actual toy and the Shiny Cats Pact was only makeup. I understand that they're trying to integrate Pretty Holic into PreCure more and more. I, in all honesty, am not the hugest fan of Pretty Holic being involved in seasons as much. Like I kind of wish they would break it up, or at least make Pretty Holic a more mature version of itself, if that makes sense. Because, so to backtrack a little, I wish they came out with the Shiny Cats Pact as an actual toy to again go alongside with the Wonderful Pact. Pretty Holic makeup wise, and I've talked about the Pretty Holic product, they're not like nice quality makeup items. They're not really pigmented. And if you want more natural makeup or you're buying it for a child, I understand that that is what you want. But I think Pretty Holic, in the nicest way, could be such a great merch line for older PreCure fans, where if they made the makeup with like in collaboration with another cosmetics company, or if they made like stationery or purses, like if they went more like if they went less toy and more like actual product route with Pretty Holic, I would be fine with Pretty Holic existing. But it just feels like a weak makeup line to incorporate in the show to have more things to sell. As I've talked about in this video right up here, the PreCure candy figures have dramatically dropped in quality. I, so far, have not picked up the Wonderful candy figures. I've gone back and forth on whether or not I want to get the premium ones and paint them, but that still feels ridiculous to me. There is this account on Instagram though that I saw where this person like did repaint and like add the details, and they looked beautiful. And I just, in good consciousness, cannot support buying figures that I'm then gonna have to paint myself. Like, it's just weird to me, and I wish either they would have come out with like better quality figures or scales or just something at this point. It just feels really weird to continue to make these low quality figures. It just, I don't understand what they're like. I'm sure obviously people are still buying them, but like, as fans are getting older, I think we should be getting higher quality product for those older fans. I did like a lot of their different merch collections. I thought a lot of them were really cute though. I don't have really any Wonderful PreCure merch just because I've been trying to like cut back on my spending, but There were so many good collections. I very specifically want the Daifuku in the rain jacket. That, I need that. It's my favorite thing. I also really loved the plush photo card holders they came out with. I thought that was a super cute idea, and I hope they do those. I think they've been doing them with the Futariwa fairies, but I hope they make those for like all of the seasons, because I think that'd be a really cute way to like display being like a PreCure fan, is having like a little plush photo card holder and maybe putting like a card of like your favorite cure, or just using that in general as a photo card holder, I think is really cute. So to go back to what I said at the beginning, I would give this season a 4 out of 5. I do think it's a good season for people just getting into PreCure, but my only thing is I feel like other seasons are better examples of what a PreCure season is. Does that make sense? Like obviously if you like the character designs or you like the voice actresses and like you want to watch this season and you haven't yet, I highly recommend watching it. I think it's a really good season. It is available on Crunchyroll, which is amazing, and like I just hope they get all of the seasons. They're pretty close to getting all of them, but I really hope they get all of the PreCure seasons eventually on Crunchyroll. I just think that if you're looking to start PreCure, I don't necessarily know if I would say Wonderful is the best one to start with. I think there are seasons with stronger storylines, but I do know a lot of people that started Wonderful PreCure as their first season, and I do think it is a good first season to start with. I just would say if you're looking to start watching PreCure, I don't necessarily think Wonderful is the best example of a PreCure season. I do think it's really good, but as I've gone through, there are things I would change about it, and there are things that I think other seasons have done better. Sorry, I had to change the battery if the view shifted at all. I will say when it comes to an animal themed PreCure season, as my friend and I have joked, wanting Petco PreCure for so long, I do think the theme of animals and pets and our relationships with our animals was very well done. If you've seen Wonderful PreCure, I am super down to discussing it with you in the comments. I will say, if we're gonna be really angry because I didn't give this season a 5 out of 5, I'm not gonna really engage with that. I'm sorry, y'all. Like, I'm allowed to have my own opinion. I'm an adult human being on the internet, and you can have your own opinion too, okay? Okay. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching this week's video, this week's bonus video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new here, yes, you, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's right there. Woo! And in the comments, let me know. Like I said, I want to hear your opinions on Wonderful PreCure. I really don't want any of y'all to think I hated this season. I genuinely really liked it. There's just certain things I wish they did differently, but I do want to discuss it with you because I like when we have conversations in the comments. All of my social media is always linked in the description so you can see my PreCure cosplays. Like I said, gonna be working on Yami. Maybe I'll post some previews of me stoning my cosplay and like adding details to it. I don't know, maybe y'all will see that. And yep, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!